What's good, guys? UFC Fight Night. Brandon Royval versus Taira. Looks like we're back in the Apex for this one. Womp womp womp. Another Apex card, man. What's it gonna take, man? What's it gonna take for these to stop, man? I feel like they don't even try with these cards. But nonetheless, let's get into it. Let's start with the early prelim opener. We got Clayton Carpenter versus Lucas Rocha. Yo, Clayton Carpenter got the craziest UFC name of all time. Let's get into this one, man. Lucas Rocha making his UFC debut after a second round knockout in the Dana White Contender Series last season. Clayton on the other side, he does have one UFC fight under his belt. He also beat Edgar Chairez in Dana White Contender Series 2 seasons ago. And Edgar Chairez, he's all right. He's not a bad. He's a mid. He's mid. He's low key. He's mid. I would say. Clayton's undefeated American. You know what I'm saying? Slight favorite here. Lucas Rocha on the other side does have way more fights under his belt. He's also way more active. Both these guys haven't fought super high level competition, so it's kind of tough to predict this one. There's a lot of coin tosses on these fights, honestly, man. You could go either way. Yo, Parlay's gonna be going crazy on this one. But my prediction, I think Lucas Rocha gets it done. I think he's more active, simply just has more reps, just has more fights, man. I'm going with the underdog on this one.
Interesting. Well, this is Rocha's first fight in the UFC, and Carpenter has one fight already in the UFC. In the Contender Series, Carpenter looked good, man, against Chairez. I'm not gonna lie. He has the height advantage. He has the reach advantage. He's a little bit older, a little more seasoned. I'm gonna have to go with Clayton Carpenter in this one, man. Clayton Carpenter by decision.
You're going with the undefeated American. I
Yes,
like it.
sir. Raw American steel, baby.
And sex appeal. Moving on to the next one. Dan Argueta versus Cody Haden. This one is a little bit easier to predict. Cody Haden is making his UFC debut after getting the contract from Dana White Contender Series. Man, a lot of Contender Series fighters on this one. I think he got the first round submission, if I remember correctly. Dan Argueta on the other side does have more experience in the UFC, but I just don't think he's that good of a fighter. Cody Haden's only loss on his record is to Steve Erceg on the regional scene, so no shame in that at all. Dan's UFC record speaks for itself. He kind of has like one win, two L's, two no contests in his last five. So I think this is an easy prediction to make. I'm gonna have to go with Cody Haden. I think he gets this one done by submission. Dude has got some serious potential, man. Look out for this guy right here.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to agree 100%, man. There's one thing about Cody Haddon is the guy has slick submission skills on the ground. I do agree. I think he'll get it done by submission. That's where the gap is between the two fighters. I think he'll be able to exploit that weakness and get the victory.
Yes, sir. Let's go on to the next one. We got Chris Barnett. The return of Chris Barnett versus Junior Tafa. This one, I call this one the battle of the mids right here. Chris Barnett is on the older side, 38 years old. Although he's pretty damn athletic for a dude that looks like him. Very, very unassuming. He's fighting the younger Junior Tafa, 28 years old, I think. But Junior Tafa's recent loss to Johnny Walker's brother, Walter Walker. That wasn't a good look for him. But Tafa ain't really the best either, man. He's definitely more powerful in this fight. You know, he got the crazy size advantage. And Barnett also doesn't really have a crazy gas tank, so I don't really see this fight going the distance. So my prediction, I think Tafa gets him out in 2 rounds, TKO.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to disagree with you, man. I don't like the way Tafa was acting in his last matchup. He had the verbal tap against Walter Walker, immediately protested and was mad about it. But dude, he got you in a leg lock and you started screaming. That's a verbal tap. It is what it is. He couldn't accept that. Usually in young fighters, I don't like to see that. I don't think I'm gonna have to go with Barnett in this, man. He has good strike. A lot of people look at Barnett, they see him, he's a fat guy, but man, he's throwing spinning back kicks and he could do front flips into a split, man. The man is genetically gifted. I don't know how he's able to do it, but he is. He's a Taekwondo black belt. Surprisingly, I'm gonna have to go with Barnett in a big upset, man. I think he gets this one done.
Yo, Chris Barnett, I put him on the same level as I Show Speed, bro. Both generational athletes.
Straight the fuck up.
On to the next fight. We got Temba Gorimbo versus Niko Price. Now, with this fight, I know the UFC is trying to build up Temba. You know, that whole Dwayne Johnson buying him a house, The Rock, you know, stamping him. You know, that's big for the UFC.
Don't ever say Dana don't got his guys.
Yes, sir. The Rock also got that shoe contract with the UFC now. So I feel like they just giving this man Taremba a house and some layups, man. That's perfect. You know what I'm saying? It's good for him. Good for him. Niko Price, I just feel like he's much older. He feels like he's much older, but he's really only 2 years older than Temba, which is kind of crazy. Niko did surprise many people by beating Morono in his last fight out. I thought he was going to lose that one. I believe Niko has what it takes to get this done, but it's hard to go against it's hard to go against the UFC machine, man. I'm gonna have to go with Temba getting it done. I just think he's hungrier at this point in his career. He also has a great story, so I feel like if this is a close fight, I think it goes to Temba. I think he wins by unanimous decision.
Yeah, man, it's clear to see that Dana likes this kid. Dana and company like this kid, and they're trying to push Demba Garimbo. And I think he's improving. He lost his first UFC fight to AJ Fletcher by a guillotine choke. And then his next fight, they gave him Takashi Sato, the layups of all layups in the UFC welterweight division. Hey, man, when you need a win, just give him Takashi Sato at 170, man. He'll get you right on track. And then the next fight, he had a win over Pete Rodriguez. And then the third, and his latest fight, he had a decision victory over Ramiz Brahimaj. And I know when they brought in Ramiz Brahimaj, he was a hyped up prospect. They thought he was a submission ace, all that. But he hasn't been that good in the UFC. He doesn't really have real quality UFC level wins. All three guys that he fought, all three of his UFC wins are against guys that aren't quality UFC fighters. They're just layup fights. But on the other side, Niko Price, at a point, Niko Price was a killer, man. But in his last five, he's 2-3. I'm gonna have to go Themba Garimbo. He just has the momentum right now. Niko Price, the upset potential is there, but Themba Garimbo's riding high. I'm going him by decision.
On to the next fight. We got Jonathan Pierce versus Patsabatini. This one's actually a good matchup right here. Pretty even, if you ask me. I like to call this one a coin toss. Pierce coming off 2 losses to David Onama and Joe Anderson Brito. No shame in either of those losses. On the other side, we have Patsabatini coming off a loss to Diego Lopez. You can't get mad at these guys for losing to those fighters, man. Sabatini, in my opinion, I just think he's the better grappler. Dude has 11 submissions on his record. Pierce, on the other side, I think he's the better striker. Dude has like 9 knockouts, TKOs on his record. So in my opinion, man, this one's really a coin toss. It's really going to come down to who's better on that night. My prediction, I'm going to have to go with the better grappler in this one. I think Sabatini gets this done with the grappling. He might get a submission, but I'm going to have to go with the unanimous decision. I think he gets it done via UD.
Listen, man, I would never pick Pat Sabatini in a UFC fight, bro. Diego Lopez the wind touched his chin and he went out completely, man. No, I mean, I'm being very disrespectful, but like honestly, it's just what I see. Jonathan Pierce lost his last 2 matchups and he's still the favorite over Pat Sabatini. What does that tell you, man? This dude, he's not a UFC level guy. He's not durable enough to be a top level UFC fighter. I'm going JSP, man. I think he got this. I think he wins by decision. I'm gonna have to go let's play it safe. I'll go JSP by decision. There's no way I'm picking Pat Sabatini against anybody, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Like I said, this one's a coin toss. On to the next fight, CJ Vergara versus Ramazan Tamirov. And man, oh man, this one I'm really hyped for. People are really, really, really high on this guy, Ramazan Tamirov from Uzbekistan. Dude has like 10 TKOs on his record. He's coming. This is his UFC debut here. He has fought in Ryzen before. But what's good with CJ Vergara, man? Taking on these Uzbeks, taking on these Kazakhs. He does have an L on his record from losing to Ode Osborne, which is, not the best. He did get submitted by Tatsuro Taira, who's fighting on the main event. And he is the older fighter here. He is the older fighter here at 33. So I think this one's a pretty easy prediction. I'm going to have to go with Ramazan. And I think he wins by TKO, man. I think he knocks him out.
Yeah, man. You know the rules of MMA. If they look like Khabib or Shavkat or Hamzat, they winning, bro. 100%. This is his first fight in the UFC. Hard to believe he loses his first fight in the UFC. I'm going to have to go Ramazan Tamirov. He has the better grappling in this matchup. And he wins fights by KO, and he wins fights by TKO stoppage as well. He has dangerous power on the feet, and he has the better grappling. I don't see any way that CJ Vergara can overcome this. I don't know why they're doing CJ Vergara so dirty, giving him all these tough matchups. But hey, man, somebody got to take these fights. He trying to feed his family, and he taking these fights. Shout out to CJ, but man, he's gonna lose this fight. It is what it is. I'm going with Ramazan.
Yo, if they're coming into fight now with a beard and no mustache, just tap out.
Basically, if they look like E, you know what I mean, they not losing.
Listen, I got my mustache, but listen, once I cut it off, it's over. I'm turning Super Saiyan. On to the next one, man. We got Chidi and Jokani versus Jared Gooden. Now, this one's another coin toss, man. Both older fighters here on this one. Chidi has fought at Bellator. He's been in the UFC for a minute now. And in New York, that a minute means a long time. Jared Gooden has been cut from the UFC before, but he's fought pretty tough competition, man. He's fought Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov in the before. He's lost to him. He's also fought Randy Brown. I think Gooden's just a better grappler here. My prediction, I'm gonna have to go with Jared Gooden. I think he's the younger fighter here, in my opinion, by a few years. I think he wins this one by decision. Jared Gooden by decision is my prediction.
Yeah, man. I don't know who to pick in this matchup because Jared Gooden did lose to Abu Bakr Nurmagomedov, and he's the weakest of the Dagestani crew, in my opinion, in the entire UFC. Jared Gooden's not a like Chidi Njokuani also doesn't have any caliber quality UFC wins. This is a coin flip matchup to me. I'm gonna have to go with Chidi Njokuani off the simple fact that Jared Gooden's been released from the UFC. He's working his way back in. Chidi Njokuani's just been in the UFC this whole time, fighting UFC fighter after UFC fighter. So that has to mean something. I'm going Chidi Njokuani by decision in this matchup.
I'm telling you, man, a lot of coin tosses on this card. On to the next fight. We have Abdulrazak Al-Hassan versus Josh Fremd. What is there to say about this one, man? Abdulrazak Hassan is much older fighter here at 39, and dude standing at 5'10". On the other side, Josh Fremd is 30 years old, much younger, 9 years younger, and he's standing at 6'4". Dude got the crazy height advantage. I want Al Hassan to win, but I think he's just not that young anymore, man. Al Hassan does have the power advantage. I think the size difference might be too much, especially if this is a stand-up fight. And being that he trains at elevation, Hassan, I think he does have the better gas tank. So that should help him if the longer the fight goes.
You think Razak Hassan has the better gas tank?
I mean, he fights at elevation.
Bro, he gasses out every fight. I'm not gonna lie.
I don't know what he doing in elevation then. He probably smoking.
He's smoking that Doja pack.
Like I said, this was a coin toss. I think I'm gonna have to go with Abdulrazak Al Hassan getting this done by UD. I just think he's more experienced, man.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I will go with Abdulrazak Hassan in this matchup. He does have a tendency to gas out, but Josh Fremd, in my opinion, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. He's a scrub, man. He's not a quality. His wins in the UFC are over Cedric Domas, who is a street fight. He comes from a street fighting background, that Kimbo Slice background, and Jamie Pickett. Jamie Pickett, we all know, is a Bo Nickel sacrifice. You know what I mean? We all know he's a regular layup victory for anybody that the UFC is trying to push. So those are Josh Fremd's only wins that aren't even real UFC level fighters. I'm gonna have to go with Razak Al Hassan. I think he can knock him out. I think he can grind him out to a decision. He's probably gonna have the wrestling advantage as well. So Razak Hassan is gonna dictate where this fight is gonna take place. So that's why I think he's gonna win this matchup. And I'm gonna go out on a limb. I think he knocks him out. Let's say that. Razak Al Hassan by first round knockout.
I've had enough, man. Give him DDP. I think they need to settle this. On to the next fight. We got the return of D-Rod Daniel Rodriguez versus Alex Morono. Both these guys are vets in this one. Alex Morono, he hasn't looked the best in his last fight against Niko Price. I did predict him to win that fight. D-Rod, I just think he's the better boxer in this one. He is on a 3-fight losing skid, and he is the older fighter by 3 years. To be fair, he's been losing to some great competition, though. I think he's lost to Ian Gary recently, Kelvin Gastelum, Neil Magny. He's a bit older, so these aren't really bad losses, especially Ian Gary. I think KG is decent too. Like he's solid. He was a former champion. You know what I mean? My prediction, I think D-Rod gets this done via unanimous decision. I don't think he's got that knockout power anymore, but I just think he's the better, more crisp striker in this one. So I'm gonna have to go with D-Rod.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to agree. Daniel Rodriguez is on a bit of a skid, but look at who he's fought in his last 3. He fought Kelvin Gastelum, who missed weight, big, bloated, straight off the taco stand. Kelvin Gastelum missing weight, and he had to box him 3 rounds. It was a close fight. Could have went either way. Kelvin Gastelum got the nod. No shame in that. He missed weight. Daniel Rodriguez put up a valiant effort, and then he got KO. He got TKO'd by Ian Gary. That was a little bit. I felt like it was a little bit of an early stoppage, but he was getting pieced up in that fight, and he lost to Neil Magny by submission. Those are 3 very quality, top 15, top 10 UFC level fighters. So I'm going to have to go with Daniel Rodriguez in this matchup. He's also shown in the past, if you try to shoot on him, when he tends to piece you up and you try to panic shoot on him, he's very capable of stuffing those panic shots. I got Daniel Rodriguez. I think he's going to piece up Alex Morono for 3 rounds. I think Daniel Rodriguez is going to win a 30-27 decision.
Moving on to the next one, we have Julia Pastri versus Corey McKenna. Another coin toss on this card, man. Julia Pastri, I believe she's taking this fight on short notice, and she's the favorite, which is kind of crazy. So I'm gonna have to go with the underdog on this one. I think if you have a full camp, I just think you're coming in more prepared. I hope my sources are correct. Yeah, I just think, I'm gonna have to go with the Team Alpha Male chick here, man. I think she gets this done. Palastri's good. She's fought on the Contender Series twice, and this will be her second fight in the UFC. I just think Corey McKenna is more of a vet. I think she's been in the UFC for a long time, coming in with a full training camp. I think she knows what to expect. I'm gonna have to go with Corey McKenna getting this done by unanimous decision.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna honestly have to disagree with you on that one. Julia Pastri has this in the bag. She's the more complete fighter. She has the better I don't know if she has the better grappling. I think it's evenly matched there, but I think she definitely has the better striking. Much better striking than Corey McKenna. And as we all know, the fight all round started on the feet. I got Julia Pastri. I think she's gonna piece her up and she'll be able to combat the grappling enough to where she edges out a decision victory in this matchup.
Yeah, honestly, a coin toss with this one. And the fact that she's coming in on short notice and the favorite, I could see your point, but I don't know, man. Let's see. On to the next fight. We got Grant Dawson versus Rafa Garcia. Now, Grant Dawson, at the time of recording this video, is a big favorite in this fight. But another coin toss fight right here, to be honest with you. Grant Dawson seems like he's fought good competition. His only loss is to Bobby Green, and that was by knockout. I don't expect that to happen here. I'm going to have to go with Grant Dawson. I think he's just more of a vet. He's a big favorite in this one, so I think this one's a pretty easy bet. But in my opinion, I think this is a lot closer than it is on paper. So I'm gonna have to go with Grant Dawson. I think he gets this done. But I do think Rafa is a dog, and I think it's gonna be a good scrap.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely going with Grant Dawson, but I'm gonna have to disagree. I don't think this is gonna be close. I think Grant is a stud, man. He was on a big win streak. He got chinned by Bobby Green, but it was early, man. It was before the fight. It was before he could even fight his fight. You know what I mean? Sometimes that things like that happen. Even the great champ Islam Makhachev, he lost his second UFC fight by knockout, and ever since then he's looked unstoppable. You know what I mean? Sometimes these things, it's fighting. If you get hit in the wrong spot at the wrong time, you could just get knocked out. I'm gonna have to go Grant Dawson. He has very good wrestling. He controls everybody he fights. He's a very dominant fighter. He doesn't really give up rounds. I'm going Grant Dawson 30-27. He's gonna grind him out Khabib style.
Yes, sir. On to the co-main event. We have Brad Tavares versus Junyoung Park. This one, I like this fight for Brad Tavares, but I'm going to have to go against him. My prediction, I think Junyoung Park gets this done. I think this is a setup for Junyoung Park to win and be celebrated. Tatsuro Taira is fighting on this card, so the Asians are kind of taking over this one. So I'm going to have to go with Junyoung Park. He's the younger fighter here. He doesn't really have Brad Tavares doesn't really have a crazy reach advantage, although he is the bigger fighter and the much older fighter here. I just think this one's a tailor-made matchup for Junyoung Park. I think they're setting him up. I think they're trying to give him that, setting him up nicely, basically. I think Junyoung Park gets this done.
Yeah, the Iron Turtle is a good fighter, man. He's a quality fighter. I've had my eye on him for a while, man. He picks up a lot of wins. He has a win. He has a lot of decision victories, man. He's a good quality fighter, good stand up. He has good takedown defense. But I think a lot of people are undervaluing Brad Tavares, man. He has lost 3 of his last 5, but let's take a deeper look at who he's lost to. He lost to decision to DDP. He lost decision to DDP. He didn't even get finished by the champ. He lost by KO to Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva, as we all know, he's hit or miss, man. He had a 3-round stand and bang war with Alex Pereira, and then he got knocked out by Gerald Mearshart. You know what I mean? He's a very inconsistent fighter. And then in his last fight, Tavares lost to RoboCop Rodriguez, who was also a killer. So he is 2-3, but he's fighting killers. I'm gonna have to go Brad Tavares. I think he gets this decision done, man. I think just too much experience, too much high-level experience against high-level fighters. I think he's going to find a way to pull out the decision in this matchup. I'm going Brad Tavares.
Yo, didn't Brad Tavares get that eye poke special by Chris Weidman?
Yeah, and he still won.
Yo, I felt so bad for him, bro. Dude came in, pitter-patter right in his freaking eyes, like, pop, pop, pop.
Nah,
Stop
I
it
didn't
right
feel
there.
bad because Chris Weidman was coming off the broken leg and Tavares leg kicked him to get that W.
Hey, listen, it's a fight. All's fair in love and war.
Nah, it is fair, but I'm saying no sympathy then, if you're gonna do stuff like that.
Nah, it was just funny watching that, man. It was just, I don't know why I found it funny. It was hilarious. On to the main event of the evening. We have Brandon Royval versus the Hype King, Tatsuro Taira. A lot to say about this one, man, but I'm gonna have to go with Tatsuro Taira getting this one, man. I think undefeated in the UFC, dude has a lot of hype behind him. I think the UFC machine is also gonna be behind him. So if this is even a remotely close fight, I think he's gonna take it. Royval, he's fought he's fought very well for the title against Pantoja. He's fought very well against Brandon Moreno. But I'm gonna have to go with Tatsuro Tai. I think he's up next in that division. I think he's gonna get a title shot if he wins this one, especially if he puts on a dominant performance. And that's what I'm predicting. I think he puts on a masterclass. I think he shows his level. I think Tatsuro Taira gets this one done easy.
Yeah, man, I agree. I'm very high on Tatsuro Taira. He's only 24 years of age, and in all of his UFC fights, he's yet to even been pushed. He hasn't really had to try. He hasn't really had to dig deep. He hasn't really faced any adversity at all in the UFC. He's beaten all these killers. He's at a young age. And Brandon Royval's a stud, man. He's fought for the title. He has a win over a former champion in Moreno. Brandon Royval is an absolute dog. They call him Raw Dog for a reason. But Tatsuro Taira, man, you have these prospects that come in from time to time when they're on a win streak coming up, and none of their fights are even close, man. It's hard to pick against those kind of guys because I don't even know how good Tatsuro Taira really is. He's shown he's really good, but he hasn't been forced to show his complete toolbox yet. He hasn't. So in that case, I can't pick against him. I'm going Tatsuro Taira, and I think he gets it done by dominant decision, man. Brandon Royval is a dog. He's a live dog. He has a lot of high-level skills. He has elite jiu-jitsu. He can snap. Tatsuro Taira goes for the grappling a lot, so Royval can snatch that guillotine that he loves. He's very crafty on the ground. He's very dangerous on the feet, but Tatsuro Taira hasn't been presented with any dangers at all up till this point, and this is what it seems like is a title eliminator. All the way up to a title eliminator, Tatsuro Taira has never been pushed. Can't bet against that level of dominance, man. I'm going with the young Japanese kid. Tatsuro, he's winning
Yeah,
this
I think
easily.
Royval's definitely gonna push him to that level because Royval is up there, man. Dude,
Yeah, I
dude,
think it'll be
dude took
competitive.
Pantoja. Do give a hard fight to Pantoja. He's solid everywhere. He's an all-around fighter, and people love him, bro. He's a fan favorite. He does tend to get very emotional before his fights, and I think for a lot of people that's not really good, but I think it really works for Royval, man. I think he's wears his heart on his sleeves. His emotions are just he's out there. He doesn't hide. He doesn't hide who he is. I think, and that's what people love about him, man. He comes out. He gives it his all. What you see is what you get, and I think he's gonna really take it at Tatsuro Taira. But I just think Tatsuro Taira is just on a hot streak. And that has to count for something. I think he's gonna get this one done. I don't think I don't think Royval's getting finished, but it's gonna be a very good fight.
And that's Full Guard MMA. And we out
And
of
those
here.
are predictions, and we out.
Peace.